The manipulative nature of the softness is sort of the core issue, the core problem in this whole soft boy presentation. If this was just people who are being vulnerable and open, it's not a problem. The emotional softness sounds like what I often term the paradoxical love bombing element that we do often observe in vulnerable narcissistic relationships. Instead of the sort of grandiose, flashy car, flashy restaurant, incessant text messages, expensive gifts, saying nonsense like I've never felt this way about anyone before, BS. The paradoxical love bomb, the vulnerable narcissistic love bomb, is more of like sharing anxieties and sharing sad stories about the past. This soft boy stuff is seductive. And it can actually be quite disarming, especially if you don't know what you're looking at. One theme that shows up is that it appears that these sort of manipulative soft boys use their pseudo-therapy-ish soft boy gentleness to start painting you as crazy or somehow off, saying things to you like, well, maybe if you just took better care of yourself, you wouldn't always be so stressed. Or let's say if in the relationship you express anger or concern or frustration with something that they do or say, or you set a boundary, you may get psychobabble, like them saying like, maybe you need to talk to someone. Getting therapy, it makes you strong. Or you seem to be having a hard time. But the whole soft boy thing then starts to feel a bit self-righteous and gaslighting. Maybe they've been in lots of therapy or they go to lots of therapy, and somehow they speak authoritatively about mental health as though they have been a therapist for years too. Like they know everything about mental health. With soft boy types, the manipulation and gaslighting is more subtle, and it is often framed as concern for all the things that are wrong with you. You don't even exercise enough. You don't eat enough organic vegetables. Or I'm worried that you're doing too much consumerism. You get the idea. It's a process that I term the unveiling of the vulnerabilities. They're just like the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood. Mm-hmm. All the better to use them against you in the future, my dear. But they don't say it. They just let you talk. They will use every wound, fear, trauma, secret that you ever mention to them. They will go after your appearance, or your work, or your parenting, or your friends, or your family, or your mental health, or your physical health, or your traumas. Anything they know will get to you. So, narcissistic people are eternal victims. While this is much more pronounced in the vulnerable narcissistic style, it's pretty universal. There's a lot of them, when things don't go their way, it's a lot of woe is me, nothing's ever fair to me, my life is uniquely unfair. This victim-y part of narcissism is a central pillar of the vulnerable formulation of narcissism. This is the type of narcissism that is more sullen, resentful, broodingly angry, aggrieved, passive-aggressive. In fact, many people don't even clock it as narcissism because people who are more vulnerably narcissistic also look more socially anxious. They may look mildly depressed, irritable, somewhat hostile, things that make us believe that something else is going on, and it often is. However, the type of narcissism doesn't matter. If a narcissistic person believes they are not getting theirs, they will almost immediately fall into victim mode. But this is different than another mode we witness narcissistic people often falling into, and that is the martyr mode. Look how I suffer. Look how much I gave up. Look what I'm willing to give up mode that the narcissistic person often uses to manipulate other people or to garner validation. Crisis. It may be a sudden crisis, it may be an ongoing crisis. It could be a sudden death in a family or an accident. It could be a catastrophic illness in someone that you weren't prepared for, or some kind of emergency that comes up quick or comes up really big and changes everything. It's a very specific subset. These communal crisis narcissists, they love an emergency. They come in like some kind of gaslighting Red Cross and let everyone know, I cleared my schedule to be here for you at this difficult time because it's an emergency. They'll remind you like, I woke up at dawn. I answered all my emails. I am the boss, so I could run my schedule the way I want. But I was able to do all of that. You may even have felt or feel beholden to them. Not just like a quid pro quo that I owe you, but more of a, I can't be mad at them for being a jerk or an a-hole or entitled or mean or manipulative or gaslighty or attention-seeking. Because interestingly, they're often not there for you and in any consistent or predictable manner during regular life. Like if you needed a normal garden variety, not special, not emergency favor, or if doing the favor didn't serve them, they're not going to find time for other people. People with these communal narcissistic vibes, they do lots of stuff for other people. And as long as everyone is praising them, and the narcissistic people get to do the things for the other people on the schedule that works for the narcissist and get to do the things they want to do, well then they can really, really seem generous. And everyone just goes along. And you may even seem like a jerk for being suspicious or being turned off by the communal narcissist. In most cases, covert narcissism is a mashup of vulnerable narcissism and this sort of idea of hidden narcissism. Like I said, it's not the in-your-face, grandiose, arrogant, preening, bragging, pretentious, show-off, status-seeking, look at my new watch, validation-seeking narcissist that you tend to see on your Instagram feed. The really unsettling, uncomfortable, icky, antagonistic, narcissistic stuff doesn't show up in these people who we later on call covert narcissists until they are triggered. The stuff that can trigger a narcissistic person include criticism, constructive feedback, you as the other person in the relationship being recognized or getting an honor or getting a promotion, a friend of theirs doing better than them, a person being rude to them, a person doing something like trying to cut in front of them in line or doing what they perceive as taking advantage of them, a person not giving them something that they think they're supposed to get, a person insulting them, or you having a social group or friends or family around you who are praising you. Some of the stuff that sets off, that triggers this sort of covert narcissistic pattern or person is actually stuff that's happening inside of them, often in response to these other things, but it's things like them feeling inadequate, them feeling insecure, them feeling incompetent, them feeling that everyone else has it better than them believing life is uniquely unfair to them feeling that other people do not adequately recognize their gifts and their expertise and their wonderfulness, them feeling like someone is making fun of them. That is when this covert narcissism becomes overt. And what you might see is very loud, almost unsettling displays of anger. You may see really long-term passive aggression and silent treatment. You may see them shift blame onto you. You may witness them throw a tantrum. You may experience them insulting you, really hitting below the belt. You may experience them making odd projections, like accusing you of cheating or something like that, or saying that you're going to leave them. People in relationships with covert narcissists said, I would have been able to see the snobby, posturing, call the manager, arrogant person a mile away. But that's not what I met. Maybe I saw a few small red flags or pink flags early on, some grumpiness, sometimes some little put downs, being a know-it-all at times. All this narcissistic stuff, the criticism, the invalidation, the emotional and behavioral dysregulation, the manipulation, etc., is a combination of stuff. Some of it is unconscious defenses, an attempt to stay in control in order to feel powerful, and then keep that icky insecurity and shame at bay. Some of it is trauma response. Some of it is the incapacity to self-reflect on how their behavior affects other people, or even care that it affects other people. Some of it is in response to the shame, which gets pulled forth when they feel a sense of rejection, abandonment, criticism, comparison, competition, or failure. What that means is that the hidden stuff that doesn't clock as narcissism initially starts popping out when frustration, shame, not feeling in control, or a sense of power, a sense of threat, rejection, comparison, failure, when those things happen. Maybe they don't get the promotion. Maybe their boss is a jerk. Maybe they lose the job. Maybe you compare them in a conversation you're having with them to your ex. Maybe their best friend buys a really big house on the beach. Maybe you make a silly joke and they think you are making fun of them. One day, something like that happens. And the response you will see from the covert narcissistic person may seem intense or disproportionate and overwhelming. And perhaps, because up until then, your relationship with them wasn't characterized by betrayal or control or other dynamics you may see earlier in more overt, grandiose, or malignant relationships from the jump, that you wouldn't clock this as narcissism. But sadly, once that mask comes off, it stays off.